kind of a long story, but I think it was back in 1985, I bought my first Macintosh, which was a Mac 512. They had just come out with the 512s about that time. And I was upgrading from a Commodore VIC-20 that I had at the time, and I really liked the idea of having a mouse interface. And when I first saw a Mac doing MacPaint, I was sold on the interface. So I bought the computer from that time. The nearest Apple dealer to me was in Illinois, and developed a relationship with them where I started to actually work for them kind of as a private contractor on a commission basis, and I started selling Apple equipment to schools. As that relationship increased, I would be back and forth between the store. I mean, at that time, the only place schools could buy Apple equipment from was actually from an Apple dealer. It wasn't available anywhere else, so I worked on that for them. That they had taken in this Lisa on a trade with all of the documentation and all the things that somebody had converted it to actually boot up. I think they called it that time was a Mac XL maybe. And anyways, that's when I picked it up, and I was more than happy to pay what they had given. I paid $10 for it, probably in about 87 or 88. It booted. I used to boot it, used to play around with it, look at the interface. Probably the thing that I found the most interesting about it was its internal design. If you've ever had an opportunity to take one of these apart, you take one or two screws out and everything comes apart in the inside. It was just I liked the design of the early Macs, where set them up where they didn't have to have a cooling fan and they could operate by design. So I just really appreciated that it was of the design of it. Plus I bought, which probably was originally about a $10,000 computer for $10. At that time, having something that had a graphical user interface or a mouse interface was really unique. A lot of the other computers were started getting Apple IIs and things like that have been in the classroom for a while. They often didn't have sometimes a joystick interface, things like that. We use the interface on a lot of the Apple IIs to make timing circuits and stuff for lab activities. But this was the first time that I worked with a computer. When I was in college, we carried around punch cards, and I wasn't a computer science major, but I still remember registering for class. We went to pull cards. We stood in line to get a punch card so we could get in a class. So my first experience with computers were, like you say, I had that Commodore VIC-20, which I saved programs to a cassette tape, which took a tremendous amount of time. So this was the first time, I think, where I could really see computers being something that the average person could use, could interact with them. So I just liked the design, and if you've ever had a chance to play with this, the keyboard seems to weigh about 20 pounds and everything's durable, and it just was a fun machine. Even though it hadn't been that long before that it had been released, it was a fun piece of history at the time. Because it's pretty cool. When you get old, you start collect stuff that's kind of fun and meaningful. I always still like the design of it. I have a number of older pieces of equipment that I've collected. I have, as an example, an Apple Newton, which was one of the first times to kind of use a pen interface and to see if that could work. I've collected a number of those things. I find the designs interesting. I find, I'm the only person I know that that has one, so I mean, it does make a conversation piece that makes it a little bit different. Like I say, I happen to have this one in my office, but I've got some other computers at home. If I ever have enough room, I'm retired in another year or so, this will take a prominent place in one of my shops, along with some antiquated woodworking equipment and other hobbies that I have.